Hello everyone and welcome back to Dragalia Foundry, a fan channel where everything Dragalia Lost can be found. In this video I'm going to be giving my thoughts and impressions on Chapter 17 of the main campaign of Dragalia Lost. This just released today and I will have full spoilers in this video for everything that's happened in the main campaign so far. So if you haven't played through the latest chapter, this is your opportunity to turn away. I'm going to go ahead and open up the chapter. I've already completed it on normal difficulty, and we'll just run some auto quests here as we discuss the goings on of this particular chapter. I like this chapter, definitely enjoyed it more than chapter 16, although the interlude in chapter 16 did have some redeeming qualities in my opinion. In this chapter, we enter the holy city of Grams. We find out that the northern branch of the Ilian church that is housed or seated in Grams has its own aspects of sorts. So we're introduced to this character through scenes of her and her council, Grot. Grot is a subordinate character to this northern Auspex. Actually, Northern Pope is what they refer to it as, and he seems to have some dealings with Harl. He's kind of a shady character. They seem to control the true power in the city of Grams compared to the monarchy that's there. I should also say that Grams is a city-state, much like the Vatican City or, the Free City of Bravos, whatever example that you have in mind, or some historical city-states. We find out that these people are sort of lurking in the shadows, and the chapter from the party standpoint also focuses a lot on the development of Ranzal, and Ranzal questioning whether Yuden is really the right leader, what he wants to do with his life, and his past, and Volk kind of challenges him. Volk pops in a few times. Let's pause for a second, because y'all know I'm a map design aficionado. I enjoy really good map design in Dragalia, and gotta say, do appreciate the attention to detail with these city maps. We knew they were coming from the digest earlier in the year, during the anniversary, but now that they're here, I do really like them. I just wish we could utilize more of these maps for our daily quests, because that could make them actually feel kind of fresh, right? Like, imagine every time you do your daily Avenue to Fortune, it's a random map. You don't know exactly what it's going to look like. That could actually make it at least a little entertaining to watch while it's auto. Of course, even better would be if some of the endgame fights that you repeatedly farm actually had some map diversity, just to make it more visually interesting, or maybe even let you choose the music. Anyway, this is the city of Grams. Looks great in this map. I mean, I think it looks fantastic. But in any case, Ranzal and Volk have a few skirmishes. They kind of square off ideologically. He's in his own head. Luca even notices that about him. And as the story progresses, we go into the city of Grams. We're stopped by some Templars after Ranzal tries to intervene to help an old man pray inside a particularly important church. And we're informed that in the northern branch of the Ilian faith, there's something called the canon, and it relates to, I guess, your status, the amount of good deeds you've done, but good deeds could include giving money to the church, so there's definitely a corruption or hierarchy aspect to it, and Ranzal stands up for the old man. It causes a whole scene. Templars come to try to take the party out, but Chell is able to persuade them, at least temporarily, that we're actually a party of merchants. When Shell is sort of caught up in a lie, or before she is, Gatov finally makes an appearance and claims that he is a mercenary that was sworn to protect our party. That's when we first meet Gatov, a character we've heard about for several chapters now, or at least in interludes and then in a chapter proper, as the person we were trying to meet in North Grastia that was a friend of Aurelius. When we met Gatov, I was a little bit underwhelmed in the sense that he didn't immediately have any revelatory facts for us. He probably knows a lot, but there wasn't really much time for exposition. I mean, he admired how much Yuden and Chell had grown. He talked a little bit about knowing Aurelius and being saddened that he wasn't there to fight at his side when Aurelius was defeated and killed, or died at least. And so you get a sense that they were close comrades, but we didn't really get any juicy details from Gatov about who Yuden really is. After we met up with Gatov, we moved to the slums of Grams, and within the slums, we find out that Gatov's kind of like the local hero. He's the division watch captain. There are people that he's training up, and they often come from rough backgrounds. Maybe they've turned to crime, or otherwise they just haven't had a lot of means to advance in society, and it seems like this is a real problem in City of Grams. A lot of inequity, a lot of injustice, economic inequality. We hide out there. There's an EX segment where Cleo and Zaina and just the whole party in general tries to help people, but they actually end up doing so with their healing magic. And other than that, we're basically just waiting there. Well, as two things happen. One, Yuden has to make a decision about whether he wants to go to the Fairy Kingdom to really find out the true nature of his identity. But then also, two, it seems like Gatov's just sort of making some preparations for us to go to the Fairy Kingdom. So we're waiting there. We get that nice little interlude segment. And when we leave to go to the Fairy Kingdom, we're actually kind of chased out by some Templars who come into the area and sort of identify us. So we have to leave. One of the things I failed to mention toward the beginning of the chapter is that the Pope and Grot, the Pope's right-hand man, want to capture us. They know that we've come north. The Pope speaks ill of Yuden, the fact that he has formed all these pacts with different dragons, sees it as a negative thing, so that's interesting. We get direct mentions of some of the apostles, not the apostles' names per se, but just that the apostles exist, and we also get direct mention of one character that I think Basil might be the monarch of Grams, might be the king of Grams, and anyway, we're intercepted. The Templars don't want us to leave. They have orders to bring us to the Pope. Eventually, we find a back route, so we try to escape through sort of like some sewers, some aqueducts or something, but we're prevented from moving any further by none other than a wrought iron gate. Just bars, kind of like prison bars, that we're unable to get through. And this was a little bit of an anticlimactic or silly moment for me, because the solution to getting through this imposing regular old gate is Shell just pops out a minigun out of her bag. Clear plans for Gala Shell happening eventually, right, with the Shadow Manicaster. And I can understand in the magical world of Dragalia, it's Manicaster. It fires off energy blasts. It kind of makes sense that it would go through this iron, but it doesn't really seem like a good way to destroy and get through that type of obstacle. So to me, I was just wondering, where was Mim? Could she not have just melted this? Could we not have just shapeshifted into dragons who could take care of this and handle it for us? But no, there were no dragons in this chapter, save one, which I'll get to in a moment here. That was another questionable situation as far as I'm concerned. But anyway, we get through the gate using the Manicaster. It was a cool animated scene with Shell, so I have to give it that. But I did have to wonder, where's Laxi? Where's Alex in this chapter? Where's Mim? They don't seem to be present. The Great Worms, once again, were not present whatsoever. And once we actually get outside of the city proper and are on our way to the woods, we are still intercepted once again by both the Templars as well as Volk. So Volk shows up, challenges Ranzal. Ranzal kind of comes to terms with his beliefs. He decides he wants to stay with and support Yuden. He accepts some of what Volk is saying, that yes, he has been born from a position of privilege. There are some things he can't understand, but he kind of like, similar to Ellie, the last chapter, he has a more reasonable way forward than what Volk proposes. It's not an all or nothing like what Volk suggests about the strong and the weak. He basically says, well, that's why I'm going to travel the world. I'm going to stay with Yuden. I'm going to try to learn more about people suffering and what everybody else is going through, see a lot of different perspectives, so I can become a better person and probably a better ruler if he ever goes back to Saint Latier. So I think it was actually a really nice character development arc for Ranzal. I do have a soft spot for him, so compared to Ellie, this one hit more for me. But then, in response to Ranzal having this character awakening, we get what to me is, again, just such a shoehorned in advertisement of presumably the end of month gala. A random Drago just pops up. Clearly it's Gala Reborn Zephyr, but it just pops up out of nowhere, and the cast justifies it as like the dragon's responding to, the purity of heart of Ranzal and whatever he's gone through, and it's sort of similar as far as it's explained as what happened with Elisanne. Interesting to see Volk again. It makes sense with the chapter focused specifically on Ranzal, but I was kind of surprised just because I thought that we were getting a more wide variety of the Agito playing a role based on last chapter. Like last chapter, Ciela was the main one because Ellie was the main character, but we did have the twins just sort of show up and play a role. This chapter, we didn't really get anything like that, but I will say just as a whole, I liked how they're expanding the cast for the plot of the game. But to round out the chapter, we head into the fairy forest. It's invisible to us at first, but Gatov has an associate who doesn't speak called Sheila, and Sheila is able to sort of dispel the barrier protecting and hiding the fairy kingdom. So the chapter ends with us heading into the fairy kingdom. We find out that a certain Sylvan is going to play a role in the next chapter, and we see Luca's picture. So most likely, headed into next chapter, I think that we're looking at a Luca-centric chapter, and they're kind of rounding through the main cast, having them confront their Agito nemesis, and come to terms that yes, there are some shortcomings in their own ideologies or their own character, but they choose and forge a better way forward for themselves compared to their counterpart. So what I think is going to happen now in the story is we're going to have more and more of these encounters. We're going to see Luca versus Kayan. He's going to have a moment of clarity that changes his path. Maybe he's going to realize like he has to be strong and he has to battle sometimes to save people. I'm not sure exactly how that'll look, but I think something like that will happen. Then we'll probably have one with the twins against Laxi and Mascula. We'll probably have one with Tartarus against Cleo. And I think this will culminate in a Nedrick versus Yuden type showdown, because this whole plot arc seems to be about Yuden understanding his true nature and discovering who he is. That's my expectation for the story moving forward. I did enjoy chapter 17. It went by pretty quickly. I would have loved to spend some more time getting to know Grams and just kind of familiarizing myself with North Grastia, but I do think this was a step up from chapter 16. Definitely seems to me like Gala Reborn Zephyr at the end of the month, and then at the end of next month, Gala Shell. As for other important plot points, I still haven't read Gala Leonidas' story, so that is a huge hole that I'm missing that maybe some of y'all in the comments below can share. I'll probably read it after posting this video, but I have heard that that has some insane implications, so that is something I'm probably going to check out soon, just so I don't fall behind or lose track of what's happening in the main plot, because I do think that's canon to the events that are happening now. Anyway, y'all, that is going to do it for this video about chapter 17. Once again, I hope you enjoyed the chapter. Definitely let me know how you felt about it and what some of your favorite moments were in the comments below. Thank you as always for watching, take care, and I'll see you next time.